Soundstripe. 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 Soundstripe.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Devontae Colonel, and welcome to another episode here at the Inspired Challenge Podcast. Joining you today, we have two guests that have both been phenomenal to have on. Gems dropped for days, jewels crafted out of the hearts and the minds of experience and wisdom gained just through looking at themselves honestly here. Today, we have a coupling of people that I learned about at a time through stories and parables told of a wise man. And I said to myself, wow, what an amazing seeming relationship. I have to meet the person that these stories are about. And so I had the honor, the privilege last week to meet her for the first time. And now I have the privilege to have her back on with the man that started the journey for all of us together. In a lot of ways, this is like a part 4 of episodes because I had the father, then I had the son-in-law, then I had the daughter and the son-in-law, and now I have the father and the daughter. Let's go. Don't say I'm not continuous with this. Don't say there's not continuity. We are going, and I'm excited to get into this. This is a dynamic that I've wanted to jump into for months now, and I'm glad to be able to do it. Thank you guys so much for your time here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guests, Renee and Al, back onto the show. So, folks, please introduce yourselves to the audience, giving name, relationship status, age, what you do for work, and hobbies.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I could tell you this. My age, I don't remember, but it's over 50. And I'm the father of my daughter, Renee, who I love very much and has been one of the most incredible daughters anyone could ever have. And I've owned 13 businesses over the years. Some have done real well, some didn't do so good, but that's life. You start with nothing, you leave with nothing. Whatever you do in the middle, that's your life. So what are you doing with your life? I've tried to do plenty with mine. And I've raised a great daughter, but I did it from knowledge of people that had successful families. I did it from what's written in the Bible. And before that, I was clueless about anything.
Thank you, Al. And Madame.
My name is Renee Legg. I am married to my amazing husband, Austin. Hi, Austin. And I have a necklace company, and I'm a personal assistant. And before that, I was a nanny for like 17 years. So, yeah. And my hobbies, I'm just artistic. I love anything artsy.
Love it. So as we were obviously talking about, this has been oh my goodness, this has been a dynamic that I've been looking to get together here. So I want to get straight into it because I know you guys were saying there's just so much to get into. So let's waste no time, folks. So I want to hear, starting from the moment of conception. No, I'm not really there. From the moment of confirmation. Al, talk to us about what it was like finding out when you were going to be having your daughter.
Well, I always remember the feeling. It's like certain things in your life are embellished in your memory. And I always remember when my daughter was born, just standing there looking and thinking, whoa, I could have missed this. Because I like children. I could have had a child or not. You know, it was no big deal one way or another. But when she was born, it's like all I can remember. I remember it as though it happened just now that, wow, I could have missed this.
Awesome. And was there any moment of like kind of the feeling like your heart was dropping from the bottom of your chest, like in this, any type of panic associated whatsoever?
No, I never had any feelings about worry about anything or panic or anything. I've always jumped in like a bull in a china cabinet. Just
True.
jump in there and make it work out. I never wonder if and what about this. And I never have any of that.
Man. Built different, Al. You're built different. So that's awesome. So coming into some of those first years, as you guys, you're starting to gain consciousness in the world, you're experiencing things. I'm curious for you, Renee, what are some of your earliest memories that you have coming up as a little girl?
Let's see. I remember I remember a lot from like pictures. Like, my dad had a camera shop. And so he was always taking pictures, taking pictures. So we have like 1 million pictures of me as a child. And I remember there's one moment, I'm sure he'll tell the little story, but I was a happy baby, right? I was happy. I'm still happy. But and so I remember one time from the picture and from their stories, but I can remember I was in the back of their travel van. It was probably like 1.5 years old. I don't know, something like that. Whatever. And they had left me alone, and there was these baby food boxes that were in the back of the van.
Oh.
And they're like, Renee's been really quiet back there. What is going on? And they opened the door, and I had taken out every single one of the baby food cans. And the look that I had, like the picture is me like busted. But that's a story that has been told like since I was little. I remember that time Renee was in the back and she got into all the baby food. But
man.
I just remember being really happy.
That's awesome.
Really like just always smiling, always happy. I loved everyone.
Yeah, and I can definitely see there are certain personality traits that carry consistently from childhood, babyhood, through adulthood. And definitely from what I've seen, that is certainly a consistent through line in there. So that's awesome there. And so as coming up, Al, like, what was your strategy as it was unfolding, and what were some adjustments that you had to make as she was coming up in the years?
Well, I never really look at making adjustments. I always looked like, I just always thought, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to raise this child? And back then I was into skydiving. I raced motorcycles professionally. I was a pilot, so I used to do crazy stuff flying. And in my life, that didn't fit in. But I realized somebody has to set an example. And I thank the Lord for the team of people, business people I was associated with. They had successful marriages. Their children were successful and well-adjusted, and the family unit was there. I remember thinking, wow, that's the way it should be. And if I hadn't been associated with them, who knows how it would have turned out. And so many young people are clueless how to raise a child, but the information's there in the Bible and books how to raise children and people that have already done it. But we go through life watching TV and looking at things on Netflix or something, trying to decide, and that's a doomed way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree there. Netflix being the guide can be quite perilous. And Renee, for you, like growing up, what was your engagement with kind of that business world that your father was a part of on a regular basis?
I mean, we kind of were a part of it as well, because they would go, they would bring us along with them when they would meet with people, and we were like, they would read books. I remember, this is skipping a little older, but one of the things that my dad had us do as children, as we were growing up, my brother and I both, he would pay us to read these success books on tape, so that while he was traveling, he would be able to hear us, our voices. He would be able to get the information of the books in his mind as he's driving. It's going in, you know, what we're reading and what they're saying is going in his mind. Okay. And then it would also be going into our mind, which is really what he did it for. But he would pay us, this is dating myself, but $2.50 to read onto a cassette tape. And we had to do one each week. So it was kind of like a requirement that we did. We got paid for it. But so all of these success books are all going into my head, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Hung by the Tongue, all of these like Napoleon Hill books and all of these success principles and biblically based success books and stuff like that. So just as probably 10 years old and on, I mean, every week, we had to finish a tape, so books just constantly being fed into me, which helped shape that for sure.
And I can add to that, it was probably the best thing I ever did to help their lives, because the brain is like a computer. If you could think of the brain as like a laptop computer, you'll understand everything you ever read or learn about success or whatever's in the Bible. It's a computer. That's where we're all created equal. We don't look the same, but we are the same with our brain. And so I did that. It was just mainly so I could get more information in my computer, but also I wasn't going to give them an allowance for doing nothing. I was going to find a way to get them money in their hands and benefit their lives at the same time doing something worthwhile. As it turned out to be an absolute gold mine for the way our family turned out, the success thinking and the togetherness we had. And like she said, they had to read one every week, and they didn't realize how well it was helping their computer, because now, years later, they still have all the effects of what they learned.
Funny little tidbit of that is we go back and listen to it now. We didn't love doing it. It wasn't our favorite thing, just like reading aloud onto a tape that we had to do like 45 minutes each side. As 10-year-olds. And we would wait, we had to have it turned in by Sunday of every week. And we would wait till like Sunday, like an hour an hour and a half before bed to start it. And when we go back and listen, my brother and I both did it. We laugh because my brother was worse. I'll say that him. He would be like, and then but you have to go and make sure that you, like reading, he would read it and it would be so mumbly, and he'd be like, and the success of the it's just hilarious to go back but it was still going in because we were still reading the words. It was going into our heads. I don't know how much he was actually getting out of it, but
how much did that when some of those parts came off, Al?
Well, it's like I go through his tapes sometimes now and listen to them, and I pick out the ones I can understand, because she's right on that. But I want to tell a quick story about my son, Renee's brother, Anthony. He used to wake up grumpy when he was 5 years old. I told this on the other podcast, I believe, but it's so powerful. Back then we had cassettes. Instead of audio files and digital, it was cassette tapes. And I put a continuous play audio cassette next to his ear about a foot away and played it quietly at night, because your subconscious never goes to sleep. Because when you wake up in the middle of 3 a.m, what was that noise? It was your subconscious mind hearing something, warning you by waking you up. Only your conscious mind goes to sleep. So having learned that through books and associating with successful people, I thought, well, let me put a little cassette there and play it quietly all night long while he's sleeping. In 10 days, he stopped waking up grumpy. I also threw extra things on it, like saying, Anthony can run fast. Anthony can jump high. Anthony can do anything. Everybody loves Anthony. Well, in high school, he went to state in cross-country running. In high school, he went to state in pole vaulting. He's a firefighter. Whenever I meet anyone that knows him, they say, you're Anthony's dad. We just love Anthony. So that same effect goes for any human being, that whatever goes in your brain is what you're going to become.
We each had our own little tape. Mine said, Renee is amazing. She is awesome. She can do anything. No, but it's true though. We each, he made us both a tape that was like a minute and a half of, in the 80s, the tape would just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing all night. And so, yeah, there's nothing she can't do. She is a winner. She can talk to anybody. Yeah. She's confident, and just, so we had that going in our heads as well, all of our lives.
Hot dog. And this was a personally made tape for each kid and given. And then was it a thing of like, all right, do you have like your headphones and you ready to, or like, what was the way that it was it a thing that was like, all right, this is your thing to put on while you're sleeping? Or was it something that y'all were like, oh yeah, I'm excited to...
It was a thing to put on while we were sleeping. I mean, it was more or less like they would put us to bed and go, leave the room and click play.
Okay.
So it was like, some kids have white noise. Some kids have just songs playing or something, you know, that we had the play and then door shut. We had the like positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Reinforcements.
And like that's got to be something that at the end of the day, being able to have those types of things being said about you, that was it always a like positive area? Were there ever any moments where it's like, man, I don't know if I want to hear that right now?
I will say, well, you can't say because it wasn't for you. We didn't have, it's your subconscious. So it's not even, we were like out. So it wasn't ever anything. And they didn't play it loud because your subconscious can pick up, like it doesn't have to be loud. It can be a background noise, you know?
Oh, so you guys would already be asleep at the time.
Well, they'd be putting us to bed.
Okay.
We would be like, it would be bedtime. We're in our pajamas. We said our prayers and good night, daddy and mommy. And we're going to sleep and then play.
Okay.
And quiet. Like I remember mine would be quiet because I didn't sleep very well with loud. But like I was saying, your subconscious, you know, he always says that's why you don't play the TV in the background and do stuff. Because that junk is still going in your brain.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, yeah.
The key thing, folks, I promise you, if you'll drill that in your brain, your children grow up to be incredible children. But you got to program the computer. If it's programmed with garbage, that's not just a cute saying that garbage in, garbage out. It's a fact. If we fill a trash can full of garbage, tip it over, the garbage is coming out. But if you fill it full of candy bars and good stuff, when you tip it over, good stuff and candy bars are coming out. It's that simple. But people just blip, 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 think it's some cute little saying.
Yeah. And like looking at that example, if a person is going through life and they're going through a hard time, what is going to be the way that they cope with these hard times? Some people, when things happen, certain celebrations, whatnot, it's, hey, let's go party it up or whatnot. Or some people, when they go through hard times, it's like, oh man, I need to run to a comfort blanket or run to food or whatever the coping mechanism is in there. So definitely agree on that part. So coming into the elementary years there, was there moving around? Was it staying in place? Was it going to Sunday schools? Like, what did that look like?
We're both like, well, we were in one, I grew up in the same house. Like I was there for 40. I mean, I wasn't there for 40 years, but we had the same house. So we were very stable in the house home wise, but my dad traveled a lot for business. We were in a very small city, like town. And so as far as churches, we'll stick with elementary years right now. There wasn't really a lot of choices. There wasn't, it was a lot of older people and cows that lived near us and orange groves. So we did go to a private Christian school all our lives. So we had those friends and stuff. But they did, we actually did a lot of home Bible study stuff as well, like reading the Bible together on Sundays and doing home things. Yeah.
Awesome.
Because everything you want to know is in the Bible. It's just hard to understand because you don't study. It says you must study to be approved of your knowledge. And one Greek word has 3 meanings. 6, the Hebrew words, one word has 6 meanings. Most people don't even read the Bible, much less understand how to understand it.
100%. Yeah, there's a total difference between reading it and then understanding it, comprehending it, digesting it, turning it into something valuable that can be applicable to life. And I know a lot of people who are like, I've read the Bible 3 times, cover to cover. And if they were asked about some of the parables, they could give you the basic, we should love each other. We should, all these things. But what is the other message that was communicated? And it's like, well, that's just a side quest thing.
Yeah.
Jesus told side quest messages? What? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And as far as with that, you said some of the things, one of the things I remember in elementary that they started that we did together as a family, every single morning. They printed out Psalm 91 on a piece of paper, and we read Psalm 91, which is a psalm of protection. It is an incredible psalm, but that was our family psalm, basically our life psalm was Psalm 91, and we read it aloud as a family every morning. We live within the shadow of the Almighty, sheltered by the God who is above all the gods. And that was just something we did every single day together as a family.
And I can tell you this, I don't know if it's true or not, but you can check online. Basically, in the Second World War, First World War, a battalion had like 2,000 men in it. And the war was so bad in the First World War that like 80% of the men would be wounded or killed. But one battalion didn't have a single person killed. And every day they read the 91st Psalm out loud. So when I heard that, I thought, well, we're going to make sure we read
Bring it to the family.
And then just knowing from the previous episode how much you relied on Psalm 91 in your years and the way that you constantly referred back to it, the way that it acted as signs for you. I mean, obviously that was something that stuck in a major way. For those of you that haven't watched it, make sure you go back and watch that episode that we had with Renee and Austin, where she details very thoroughly the way that Psalm 91 meant something significant for her and Austin's relationship. Amazing episode. Totally worth the watch. Also, if you're coming in on the Instagram and you want to have the sound effects and all things like that, make sure you switch on over to the YouTube. Just go to YouTube, Inspired Challenge Podcast, and join in over there. So the Psalm 91:1, that was something that you guys had as children that you learned, got comfortable with. And now we go into awkward years, the middle school years, those years. What was that like as your daughter starts to shift from just this amazing, beautiful bundle of joy into these still pretty good, pure years, but also getting into the more feistiness that has to come?
Well, I don't think we had the regular go-through that most families go through because our daughter's computer was programmed for success. It was programmed for doing the right thing. It was programmed, as I mentioned on another podcast with you, that she went to the movies with her friends. First thing we asked when she wanted to go, what is the movie? So we could research and see what was in it. If it was full of crud, we wouldn't have let her go. So we looked, it looked good. She went. When she came back, I said, how was the movie? She said, great. I said, how did your friends love it? Said they didn't go. I went, what? They didn't go? No, they went to the marquee X-rated movie they saw.
R-rated.
She went to the movie by herself. I was so proud of her. I can't tell you the feeling a father has for a daughter that's like that. It's money, nothing on planet Earth can buy that feeling or give you the just unbelievable feeling that did to me.
So I know that was those number of years ago, but if you go back, place yourself in that time period, you're at the movies in this place, and everyone wants to sneak to something that you disagree with. What is going on in your mind, and how do you navigate that situation in real time?
I remember that. I think really I was just like, well, I can't do that. I mean, I just knew that wasn't what I was supposed to do. So it wasn't even like well, will I get caught? Maybe I can do it if I, like, it was literally like, okay, well, I'm going here. You guys are kind of cruddy friends that you would leave me and I'm going here by myself. Yeah. But it wasn't like a struggle. It wasn't like a should I not? It was just kind of like, man, like why? It may have been like man, why can't I like that? I don't get to be with them. They're cooler, but it wasn't I wanted, so I'm going to do it.
And how old were you at that time for that?
16.
Was I?
16.
She was
15
16 because some of her friends had just gotten their driver's license, and one of them was going to take girls to the movies together. I can tell you this, though. She said, I didn't have to think. I just knew I couldn't do it. Why? Because her computer was programmed. Whatever it's programmed for, that's what it does. It can't do anything else. It has to do what it's programmed for.
And I think it wasn't even that I was like, oh, I can't because I'm going to get in trouble. Like it was just kind of like, well, I'm not supposed to do that. So I'm not going to. I don't know.
So, and that is an amazing concept to like look at, because when we look at the culture of young people, friends, things like that, right? We look at video games, we look at sports. If I can speak, for example, I have a younger brother. When his friends were all doing soccer, he got into soccer to do it just because they were all doing it. He wanted to do it with them. Then his friends wanted to do more of like video games, online computer games. And so he joined them in doing that. And so there's typically like this tendency for children to want to go and do what their friends are doing just to keep that closeness available. So to hear that at not even as a child, but as a coming into a young adult, full-blown teenager at that point, you were willing to have that separation. Like, what was the ways that did that affect the friendship at all, or was it pretty much the same? It was like, oh, okay, you do your thing, fine.
It was kind of like, well, they're just like, okay, like if you're sure, and they went. It didn't affect the friendship, but I mean, they were like friends. Like I don't even remember. I don't have touch with, didn't keep in touch with them. It was a friend that I was in class with, so it wasn't even someone that I was tight with. But I think it didn't affect anything, and I wasn't going to treat them different, and they knew me. So they already knew me. So I really doubt they thought I was going to go with them, honestly. But I think by them, this is my dad and mom right here, how they raised us. I mean, it's just like observe the opposites. Observe the masses and do the opposite. Don't go with the flow. That's just how we grew up. My dad is like a wild child, rebel guy. Anyway, that was his, before he was a Christian, like his background. So we just were raised in this, like, don't do what everybody's doing. Like you be set apart, be different. You don't have to like see what they're doing and do something different, make a different way. So it was just how we had always grown up, knowing like, I don't have to do that I can be myself and do what I want. I don't need my identity and what they're doing. I can, do my own thing.
And a key thing I add to why that happened that way, because they were programmed, but with what? We played the video Mr. T over and over and over every day, during the day, at night. And part of it, the key thing that answers it.
What is the Mr. T just for the audience's sake?
I'll explain it really quick, but it's Mr. T back in the 80s. He was on the A team, but he was an actor on the A team, but he also did this little like side project thing. And it was for kids, for teens, for young kids. And he did like this little series. And I think it was called Mr. T Be Somebody.
Yes.
And there was different segments in this series. And one was like about peer pressure. And one was about treating your mother right. And it was treat her right, treat your mother right. You can see how well I copied it when you go look it up on YouTube. But and then just all of these different things, teaching kids basically like how to be right and to not give in to peer pressure and all that.
And my children don't smoke, don't drink. And on there, one of the little skits on Mr. T was, it showed a kid with a group of other children smoking cigarettes, drinking, and they were trying to get him here, take a puff, take a puff. And the one child that was trying to do right, he'd go, no, no, no. And finally, after a while, they saw that he wasn't following their example. And they looked at their cigarettes and threw them down because he was setting the right example. And my children were programmed. Their computer was programmed by Mr. T.
In school, I know you said your friends knew you for a certain thing. What was the full reputation of Renee at that time in your life in what would have been high school?
in high school.
Let me interrupt. Here's something that stands out, and I don't want to forget it. I do remember not the details, but I remember the gist of it. Some of her friends after high school called her for advice and help because they said she was always such a good example to them.
Wow.
I never forgot that.
Really?
Finish it up, Renee.
I mean, that's like, I didn't even, I guess, realize, because I was just me. I wasn't like the person that's like, you shouldn't do that because Jesus says you should. Like, I just was being me, which, you know, it wasn't like preachy. I wasn't the Bible thumper. I wasn't like you at all. I was fun, outgoing, silly, loud, as you can tell. I was and nice to everybody. My mom was really good about being like seeing the outcast and like come and being like, no, be my friend. Like, you're by yourself. I'll come be with you. I loved people. I still love people. So I was just like this little like crazy person. So fun. And I was everybody's friend, but I wasn't, I didn't feel, I don't know. And like what he was saying is, so that's how I was in high school and in element, like just always. But so when I had another friend, even more recent than that, like maybe about 3 years ago, I reconnected with her since 94. So it's been that long.
Yeah, precisely 30 years, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that ministry that I said I had from the last podcast that you guys can go listen to, she came to it. Like I got in touch with her and I said, hey, you should come.
Yeah.
And when she came, she told me, she said, Renee, you were always one person that I knew that I could count on, that I could go to, that you had the best advice. Like I just always saw Jesus in you, and I always knew that about you. Wow. But I didn't see it because I was just being me from what was in me and coming out of me. So,
yeah.
See, and she doesn't get credit. She's not special. She's just like you. We're all the same. What's in there is what comes out. What's in there in your computer.
Yeah.
And that is something that there has got to be a certain part of you, or maybe not. There is, but it seems like there would be, by a lot of today's how people interact and whatnot, that there would be some amount of like, man, I really want to like either break out of what people understand about me, or I want to surprise somebody in a way that they might not expect me. Was there ever that came up that made you, as a teenager at that time to like your young adulthood, that made you want to
like rebel or something?
Either rebel or like shift away or like test the waters outside of that line? Or
I think for me, yeah, I get what you're saying. I see why you're saying like people would say you would want. My parents were very good at letting me be me too. Like they would let me dye my hair blood red and like plum and blood red stripes. Like they let me dress however I wanted, even if they're like, I don't want to walk around with this girl dressed like that. They let me be artistic. Like they weren't like controlling. They instilled things and they had their rules, but so they also probably were even a little more lenient than like, I look back now, I'll tell you, when I was in my like 17, 18, I grew up in this little town called Eustis, and cows and orange groves and old people. And so I always wanted to go to Orlando to go dancing and to go like to the clubs there dancing or to go to concerts and stuff, you know. And so as a 18-year-old living at home still, they would let me go out, drive my little old self out to Orlando, go dancing, and I had to be home at 3:30 in the morning. And I just remember being like, that's not fair. All my friends get to stay out later. But looking back now, I'm like an 18-year-old girl driving an hour to Orlando and back by herself and got to stay out till 3:30 in the morning. So I say all that to say that I didn't like, I could be myself. I could do what I wanted. I didn't feel like, well, I want to show them something different because I always was myself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I can say it wasn't hard to do because we trusted her. We knew what her program in her computer was.
Track record.
Man. What is an instance where is there any instance at all where there was ever any tension as a teenager or as a parent to the teenager? Was there ever from either side on anything?
I mean, for me, the normal, like, that's not fair. The that's not fair is I can't stay out until 6 a.m. like my friend. But I mean, obviously, I'm sure I don't, there's nothing that like is in my head where I'm like, man, I remember hating this. But I mean, obviously, as a child, I probably would have wished, man, I wish I could have gone with them to that movie. Like it would have been easier. And they watched what friends I hung out with. So man, I wish I could go spend the night at that friend's house. Or why do my parents have to like watch just that kind of like, man, I wish I could, but I knew that I couldn't or that I shouldn't. And so I was obedient. I mean, I was, that character that they had instilled in me. But I mean, there wasn't any tension. We had no rebelling, no fighting besides the normal just like stuff. But there was no anything that, I mean, and I know it's like, oh, it wasn't a perfect life. We had stuff like, it's just, we're so used to like, okay, well, this happened, make it work. This happened, that like nothing ever seems big or I don't
All
know.
we did was when anything come up, we'd be like MacGyver. We'd figure how to make it work.
Yeah. All right.
Most people they have a problem in their life because they dwell on the problem. All you got to do, life is full of problems, but you figure what's the solution? There's always a solution. May not be what you like, but there's always a solution.
When it comes to getting into the world of dating now, what did that look like from your end, Al, as coming into those 14-year-old years and daughter coming into there? Was there ever any, how was your mind shifting towards that?
I just remember one time there was one boy she liked, but he wasn't a good one.
There's a lot of those.
I won't tell what happened, but we had it out in our house, and he never came back.
I will tell what happened.
All right, go ahead.
Well, just to backtrack a little. Yes. I needed that on Friday. I went to a private Christian school from first grade through 12th grade. My class graduated with 11 people.
Was it always the same school?
It was the same school with the same people. So they were my brothers and sisters, honestly. Like, so dating, like I liked boys and like I'd see the boys at the other schools, but all through, and I graduated when I was 17. So all through up until 17, like he didn't really, I mean, I would talk about boys and think they were cute and but like I didn't date. I didn't like have boyfriends. Like I was the friend of everybody who had boyfriends. Like that was kind of I was friends with everybody. So and I didn't have any, anyway, so what he's talking about is when I went to community college, once I graduated from my first grade through 12th grade, family that stayed the same the whole time.
Man. That's so rare. Like I don't know does that happen nowadays? Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Go ahead.
It is rare. But so for me, when I moved from there, I won't say sheltered life, but I will say like protect, like the school was the same people. So they didn't have to, like, it was the same boys. At one time, one time in second grade, it was me, another girl, and all the rest were boys. But like they were my family that I grew up with, basically. So when I went from high school graduating, I just went to community college. But that shift, then the community college was all the boys the popular guys I used to see at the games from Eustis High School, from Mount Dora High School, from Tavares High School, from all of the public schools around.
Right.
They all went to that. And so then for the first time, I was like, oh, I can, they don't know me for this. Not saying they needed to know me for something bad, but I could be like the cool girl that, you know, they don't know, and I can get to know these people that I've had crushes on, and they all started liking me, like all of these people that I'd had crushes. So it was all this attention. And the guy he's talking about, I won't say names, but I remember the situation. The first guy I dated, he was not a Christian. That's kind of been my journey. I've kind of missionary dated, like tried to be like, I'm going to find this guy that I think is cool, and then I'm going to make him be a Christian. Like that's kind of been, which is why a lot of the guys have not been the best guys that I've dated. They're good people, but they have not been the best for me. So this one, they had, I'll just do a short version, gotten to a little scuffle because I was upstairs and we had been arguing. My house where I grew up had 2 stories, and my room was upstairs, and his office was upstairs. So, and there was a living room upstairs. So we had been watching a show or something, but we got to arguing, I think, and he heard like some scuffling, I guess, and the guy had put his hands on me, and he heard, and he flies up those stairs. He takes him, puts him in a headlock, puts him down on the ground. Like it was like this, up the stairs, headlock down. And he's like, don't ever touch my dog. Like this whole dad rescue moment thing. I was never, just to say, I was never like scared. I didn't feel, but still the fact that he put his hands on me in a argument, this guy, I didn't even know how he knew, but he's like, fly up the stairs, headlock down.
Hot dog.
Right? That's what you're talking about. Okay.
So when that happened, like, what was it exactly? So you heard a scuffle. You heard, what was it, a sound on a wall or?
I don't know how you got up there.
I don't remember that part. All I know was it sounded like something wasn't running right there. So
man.
I went up to check it out. When I saw he was kind of doing whatever he was doing. That was the end of that.
Jeez. Oh man, you were putting it down on him.
He's shining his gun. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess without realizing it, I was just a protective father. I could see how a father or a mother cub protects her bear cubs or any animal in the kingdom. You can tell the feeling. It's like if you care about your children, no one's going to hurt them. They're going to have to go through you before they can get to your children.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that was the only incidents as far as from like the 14 to like young adult years and whatnot. And so, as you said, you had gone to community college for a few years in there, and it was something local to that Eustis area? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, to the county.
Yeah. And so as the college years played in, did you stay at home or?
Yes.
That was.
Yes, I stayed at home.
Okay. And how was that as far as, okay, now you're a whole young grown woman. 18, you had the 3:30 curfew. And then from 18 to, how long did you spend in community
Till
college?
like 27 or so. Well, I
Okay.
was at home till like 27 or
Yeah.
so.
So as that happens and there's just this, I mean, I'm sure there had to be some amount of growing, like, I am a 23-year-old now. Was there any of that ever or?
Well, the cool thing about the setup of living at home was the house that we lived in that I grew up in. It was actually like a duplex, it was an old house. It's probably like 100 plus years old now. And it was this 2-story. The upstairs had a kitchen, a living room, a bedroom, a bathroom, other rooms. The downstairs had 3 bedrooms, a living room, and there was a separate entrance to go upstairs. So I would say probably around 12 years old, honestly. I got to have basically the whole upstairs.
Wow.
Besides his office. So I had my own space. They gave me, like, it was kind of mine. I got to decorate the living room. I had my own bathroom. The kitchen, it wasn't a functioning kitchen because we didn't have like the stove wasn't working and stuff, but I got to use it as a playroom. And then I had my bedroom. So I always kind of had my own space with nobody on top of me or feeling like that I was like in their space. So as I got older, 18 and all that, they were very good, I will say. I don't know if you had to fight through it, but at giving me independence, at letting me be independent. They had their rules. It was still, you're in this house, you're home by 3:30 because you're in our house. But like they would let me like they were very, very good at not being like, you know, they were more like my landlords, I guess. It kind of did a little shift of like, they treated me like I was their daughter / tenant.
And I can tell you this, if we hadn't read in books and had mentorship from families that were doing things the right way, our family could have been messed up like so many are. We don't claim any credit. We're not special. We just were fortunate enough to be mentored by people that had good families and guided us to reading books and the Bible on how to do it. Otherwise, we were clueless like everyone else is. If you want to know how to succeed, you get around successful people and read success books. If you want to fail, just watch movies and go to other things that are meaningless and useless for your future.
And I think one of the things too that helped were the books with them letting go of control. Because I know my mom was like control, and they would like probably fight their own minds with, we have to let go of some control. We have to not. Otherwise, I probably would have felt like some people, like I would have felt like, oh my goodness, let me just live my life, you know. But they worked on not trying to. I know it was probably a struggle. I know it was for my mom, but for that fine balance of not controlling our daughter and trying to make her, but like giving her some space. So I know because of that helped me not feel like they're on top of me, like I'm.
And it says in the Bible, train up a child in the way they should go, and they won't depart from it. Well, we trained her up. So why should we worry after that? We did what we were supposed to. We trained her up, and she lived according to her programming, what her computer had in it.
And they prayed for me every day. I had a praying mom for sure. I know you prayed too, but like my mom was like, she was like a prayer warrior. And so she prayed from us from out the womb, I'm sure, all the way until she went to heaven. That prayer over my brother and I too, and for God to shape us and for God to take us and for God to move in us and to protect us and to send the right friends into our lives, like all of that. Like they both prayed for us as well, which was very important.
Yeah. Incredibly important. Wow. As a father, what was something that you ever saw Renee go through that your heart just broke from?
Well, nothing broke my heart because she never did anything really that serious. But if I look at her life, the two hardest things that I can think of that pop right in my mind was when she'd be out at 3:30 in the morning and I'd wake up in the night and wonder, where is she? And one time I actually drove to Orlando and I forgot the deal on it, but I remember I wasn't real happy. And I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember sitting outside this club getting ready to walk in, and she was coming out at 3:30 in the morning. So whatever that was, she can fill
And he
in.
turned around and went back home. He didn't confront me there. He like literally turned back around because he saw I was okay and went back home. What? And then when I got home, I knew it was still like, okay, this is the little blip. Remember your second one. Okay. Sure. I didn't always get home at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh.
and I would like just be quiet and go up to my room. But because sometimes I'm just like, man, because the club, and I did, like he said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I've never done drugs. You put it in my face, I don't want it. Like, I'm not pressured to do that. I just knew, ugh. But I love dancing. Like, I just love dancing. That's one of my hobbies that I didn't mention at the first. But So I would drive down there, and this club stayed open before the laws passed and everything had to close at 2 till 7 in the morning. And I just remember that night I was like having fun and dancing, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, I'm already this much. If I leave now, I'm not going to be home by 3:30. So I'm already late. So I'm just going to dance a little more. Like, that was my thought process, is like, okay, I need to leave now if I'm going to be home in time. Well, if I leave now and I speed, then I'll be home in time. And then it got past the point where like, I'm not going to be home at 3:30. So I'm just going to stay a little longer. And I remember didn't Curtis, like you had a friend that saw me too or something. That was probably another time. God just kept sending people, like like I said, they prayed for us. So, but yes, so that was it. And I think I was coming out like 5 in the morning or something. I didn't see him, but when I got home, I know my mom must have been freaking out, but I went in the room and I was like, I'm home. And they're just like, okay, go to bed. But I knew they didn't confront me when I got home either. Because that's one thing that they didn't do, is ever be in anger. Like we got spanked and all of this, but it was always, you did this. Pick your time when you want to be punished, before or after dinner, because there is a punishment. We don't want to do it, but we have to. So they I bet that was torture. He's like, okay, my daughter's safe. I can just sleep now and deal with it later. So yeah, but I know I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm like trying to sleep, and I'm like,
books.
when is this? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. Yeah. Continue.
So that was that time he's speaking of.
Because the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. What it means is, if you let a child get away with things and don't have a result from consequence, you're hurting your own children. So, and it says spare the rod. It didn't say spare the baseball club. It says the rod, a little thin rod. Why does the Bible say a rod? Because it's a little rounded thing, and the only thing that hits the skin is the little thin edge where the rounded is, and it stings. So it registers in the computer. Oh, I don't want to feel that again, so I won't do it. Anyway, the second thing only other thing I remember is it was hard for me to handle was when I used to go on a business trip. I had a business that was in 3 states, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And when she'd be on the sidewalk, when I'd drive off, and she'd be running along the car with me as I'm driving off. Oh. And it used to really tear me apart to see that.
How old was that when that would happen?
7, 8, 9 in that zone.
I'm like, I'm going to chase him till he's out of the way, till he's off. But that wasn't anything that like I went through. Well, I guess you felt like I was going through.
Or I did. I was going through it.
Sure. If I saw my little girl running after me, I'd be like, oh my goodness, she doesn't want me to go. Like, what am I doing leaving her?
Yeah. But the only reason I was able to do it was because my business was helping other people. So I wasn't thinking of myself. I was thinking of the people I was going to have a better life by helping them. So it was worth the sharing my time and my life.
Plus, my mom was at home with us. He wasn't like leaving us with anybody, you know, where my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So like we knew what he was doing.
As a daughter that grew up in a stay-at-home mom type of environment, dad working, traveling all the time, what was that like for you? And like, how did that shape the way that you kind of came up? Or, you know, there's a conversation nowadays involving like gender roles and like man's place, woman's place, 50-50 on relationships. What were your thoughts as you saw that dynamic growing up?
Well, he wasn't really like, I mean, he was there a lot. Like he traveled a lot, but it would be like a week. He'd go for a week, but then he was there for like months. Like gone at night, they'd go together to build their business together. So I saw both of them a lot. I mean, especially as we got older, you know, in the teen years, I think you were there a lot more. But I mean, I loved it. Like my mom would get up and make us breakfast. We all sat together. I just got to see how she served her family because she loved it. He didn't want her to work. And so he would have worked 12 jobs so that she wouldn't have to, so she could be the one raising my brother and I. I mean, and she was always there. Each day, this is one little tidbit going back to like elementary and whatever, is they each had a day where they would take us just like on Thursdays, my mom and brother would go together and have an adventure. On Wednesdays, my mom and I would. On another day, my dad would take us, one of us. So we each had our individual time with each parent. It just, my mom staying home allowed everything to flow and work together. My dad took me on my first date when I was 13.
Oh.
Yeah. He like dated me so he could show me what a man should do for his daughter. Set the bar.
Yeah,
so I got dressed. He got me flowers. He picked me up at the door, took us out. And so just, just having both parents there and my mom home, it was just cozy and comfortable. And like my dad was there and I saw like, I loved it. That's what I loved it. It was a perfect rounding of what a mother should be. That gentle. I mean, the Lord made us different. He made men and women differently. He gave women that, the traits of like the loving and the gentle and the nurturing, and then the men, the providers and the warriors and the protectors. And like they go together. That's why he made them differently, because I don't know. So it's just this mesh of like loving, nurturing woman, being there for her kids throughout the day, picking them up from school every day, dropping them off, being there. And then the man teaching, and he's like coming in and providing for us. We saw that, and just like protecting us. It was just really cool to be around all the time.
And you know how to destroy the family unit? The country, you destroy the family unit, because the family unit is the key and the power of any country. The more unified the family is, the more unified the country is. That's why they try to get women to work all the time instead of take care of the children and do things to destroy the family, and it wipes out the country. And I wouldn't have known that. If it wasn't for the business I was involved in with the mentorship of people that were successful, I shudder to think how my life could have turned out. And you can live the life as good if you got good mentors. You can't just follow junk and expect to get good out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that mentorship, huge in there. And now, in bringing that up, so because there's a question that came up that, oh man, I completely lost it. But so obviously your parents were hugely involved. I mean, that concept of one parent taking each of you separately, uniquely, individually out. Because, and in total, there were two. I know there were the two. Was there a third sibling?
Just me and my bro.
Okay. So, like, perfect number there. I saw something one time. It was like, we were good when we had the two kids. And then I don't know what happened. We had the third one, and suddenly we fell apart as parents.
I will say I was the trap to have the second kid.
Oh.
So if he was here right now, it might be a little bit of a different interview. I was the trap. Oh, this is a great, happy, easy. Yep. But anyway, go ahead.
That's so funny. For you as a young woman coming up, obviously your mom was a huge role model for you. Your dad did the date at 13, which I do have questions about that and the way that that may have translated later. But what other forms of, if you had any other mentorship that you had, whether it was something within school, the church, workplaces, did you have any other types of mentors that you looked up to or saw that you wanted to emulate what they were doing at all?
I would say, I was involved at school with things, but nothing really that I was looking up to. Probably more the people in the business that my mom and him were a part of, probably because I saw them taking their time and helping my parents. And then just like that, they're part of the reason my parents are who they are. And so like their wisdom, and they had back then, everything is cassette tapes. So like they would listen to tapes of them, like telling their stories and giving information and tips and all of that. And they always listened to that, but I would listen to it. And I just knew these people, and we would go to these big functions and I would see them, and they would that was a big part, but that is also who they are. So it was like this big whole ball of wax. And then I went to youth group. I would drive out to Orlando because there was nothing but cows and orange groves where I lived. So even growing up, I remember driving an hour to church on Wednesdays as a 16, 17-year-old.
Wow.
And so, just that and my youth pastor and stuff like that.
Okay. Awesome.
I want to say one thing I always remember. It was so much fun when they were like 9, 10, 11 in that zone, 7, 8. I used to go and get the big stores like Lowe's and places like that, get these big cardboard refrigerator or stove boxes, bring them home, get 2 or 3 of them and open them up, make a tunnel all the way from the kitchen, all the way through the dining room into the living room. And
Like a
we'd have
fort.
little cutout windows that we could flip up and we'd crawl through there. It was so much fun.
We taped them. Like my mom would let us make a whole fort out of the house. Like we would literally, there'd probably be like 5 big, huge refrigerator boxes. We'd cut them. We'd tape them. We'd make them into like mazes, and it would take over. We'd put a sheet over the dining room table, and that would be our starting point. But then the mazes would come out, and we'd take over the living room with cushions. And like she would let us keep that for like days. It would be our fort. We'd eat breakfast in it. He would cut out windows for us.
Okay, I do want to go down this rabbit hole because
Wait a minute, I'm an adult and I loved it.
and at a certain point, I will get back to the you taking her on a date, but I do want to go down this rabbit hole because I always thought that was the coolest thing for dad to be able to do with his kids was to be able to set up forts and all these like creative, like how did you come up with these things? Was you like there was no YouTube back then, so you weren't looking up YouTube, you weren't Googling. How did you come up with like,
I just thought, what could be fun? Let's try this.
In the mud slide.
Yeah.
Remember the mud things? The sand pits when it was muddy.
Oh, yeah. We used to go like,
did
you go out in the
everything.
countryside away from the city, and a lot of times there's big, huge sand piles, like maybe 30-foot high, where they pile up sand for various uses and reasons. And we'd go out there
Sneak in.
and we'd climb up, slide down the sand, have our dog walking in the mud.
oh my
We
goodness.
We did a lot of stuff like that always.
We tried to observe the masses and do the opposite.
Breaking and entering. Just kidding.
Safer times back then too, right? Oh man.
We had a little fishing boat in the backyard, like a little plastic one, and we'd fill it up with water and like swim in it. And we had the hose with the trampoline. This was before you had to have a protective thing around the trampoline. I had so many
Right.
friends flip off into the
I bet.
into the ground. But we would play with soap and the hose and water. I mean, we had like an actual childhood.
Yeah, and I remember talk about how do we come up with these. My dad moved to Vermont, and so we were up visiting one summer, and we're driving to my dad's place. In a big field, there's a truck with a hay baler making bales of hay, and people throwing on the truck. So I'm with my daughter and son and wife. We pulled over. I said, let's help out. We pulled over. We ran up and said, can we help? We started throwing bales on the trailer. We do stuff different for fun, and it was fun.
Man. And would you say that the lifestyle that y'all live, what would y'all say it was solidly middle class, middle upper, lower middle? What would you guys kind of say that sat around?
I would say we were upper because one of my businesses did so well. I had a 38-foot dive boat with twin diesel engines. We used to go, one time we caught 150 lobster in 3 hours and spent 2 weeks on the Bahamian Marsh Harbor area, Hopetown. It was one of our most incredible vacations. We had the whole family. I had my own airplane because I was a pilot. So I'd say we were not the top, but we were above the middle
Pilots
class.
have always done really well, huh?
Sometimes.
Were there yeah, sometimes. So were there ever like dives in it where there had to be like major adjustments in whether it was lifestyle or like certain manners of behavior?
Repeat that question.
So were there ever moments where like there were dissensions of whether it was resources, income, maybe uncertainty, and how did that affect the inner dynamics of how things would work?
Okay, I will say that in any businesses you have, some do good, some don't do good. It's always a risk. Business owners, entrepreneurs, always are willing to take a risk. Look at Devante. He's got his program going here. He's building it up. He may turn out to be a national success. He may fail. We don't know, but he's putting in the effort and taking the chance. I took chances. Some of them did well, some didn't do well. And I can remember eating hot dogs every day for weeks at a time. I can remember when my son and daughter were going to Christian Home and Bible School in Mount Dora, Florida. We were behind 2, 3, 4 months in the payment. And I just did whatever I could to make it work. I used to go to Walmart and buy little door viewers for $4.95 and go around neighborhoods knocking on solid doors saying, you could have opened the door to some bad guys. I could put this in your door for $20 right now. And in 10 minutes, I'd make $20. I did whatever I had to do, but I wasn't always living good and I wasn't always living bad. Life is start with nothing, end with nothing. Whatever you do in the middle is your life. What are you doing with your life?
As a daughter seeing that, and when those things would happen, did you ever have any apprehension with that at all? How was your response to that?
We just roll with it. We just help. Well, first we have faith, so we don't worry. Like, we never worried. I don't ever remember
No worries.
Worried. And yes, maybe there's some we're not robots, so like maybe an anxious thought, maybe a little bit of stress, but like we didn't worry because we already know who our provider and our supplier is. So that's number one, is we have a faithful track record with all of this stuff and with our life of what we've been up and down and through his faithful track record that there's no way we could worry, because we're like, oh, well, and he came through. So like, this is easy. So it was just like, they never let us worry. It wasn't ever like, what are we going to do? It was never like, oh my gosh, this is due. And it was never grumbling about it, talking about it, whining about it, complaining about it. It was just like, okay, what are we going to do? Let's all go here. The Roses, I remember my brother and I, they would go get donuts and hawk them in the morning, at like 6 a.m. at offices. And my brother and I would set up a little donut with Roses station on the side, and they'd go leave us there selling them while they went and did that. And we came back together, like, to pay a light bill. I'm just saying, but we were never like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We never saw them, oh my gosh, this is horrible. We're just like, okay, we need a solution. Here's a solution. This will make us money for this. This door view will make us money for this. God will supply. And we just became like a team, a family. Team unite.
Yeah.
Together, you can accomplish anything. That's why the powers to be try to divide black against white, old against young, men against women, everybody against everybody, because when you're divided, you fall. When you're unified, there's nothing that can stop you. In the Bible, it says in the Tower of Babel, they were building a tower to heaven, and the only way God could stop them was change their language so they couldn't be unified.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, it wasn't like fun. Like we just knew like we're gonna be okay. Like, so I'm not saying like, oh, okay. It was, looking back, it's like, oh yeah, that we're like, oh, we have to do donuts. Okay. It's kind of like a suck it up and do it wound. Like, it's just a suck it up. Like, you have to do it. Suck it up, and maybe you don't love it, but just do it. Like, what are you gonna do? Sit at home and complain and cry and whine and say? It's just like, no, I don't love this, but like, let's go. And you just put it on your face and you just do it because it's what you have to do.
Yeah, because back then we didn't have a safe house.
Safe house?
Yeah, everybody's got their safe space, their safe house. Get up and do something with your life. That's all
Well, that kind of goes into what I was going to ask next, which is, so there would be these ups and downs, things like that. But now I'm curious on, and this is going into a hypothetical situation. Who knows how long this will go. How do you guys think, you as a father, you as a daughter, you guys can choose which order you go in. How do you think your lives would have maybe been different if social media was something you had access to in those times?
Well, my parents only let us watch 30 minutes of TV a day, and we got an hour a day because I could watch my brother's 30 minutes and he could watch my 30 minutes. So we kind of came together. And in saying that, they would have it really, I don't feel would have had a big impact on us at all, because they would have restricted it. We wouldn't have been the family that had the kids with the phones and constantly on the
Right.
tablet. It just wouldn't have been. So it would have just been another tool that they're like, okay, you get 30 minutes on this. Let's check to see what you're on. You can't go on this site. So I honestly think it would have been,
No effect.
possibly just, I know there's a lot of by being on social media, you, I don't know. I really don't think I was gonna go down the way of seeing the other girls, because I know that's something a lot of the young girls struggle with now, is comparison and all of that.
Yeah.
And so maybe in the 30 minutes, if I'm watching these girls, I might have I don't know, some kind of comparison or something. But I'm pretty strong in who I am. I'm awesome. I can do anything. The tapes told me, but so I don't think it would have really been a big in our family.
It wouldn't have made any difference whatsoever, because we understood that whatever goes in the computer is what the body does. It's like, watch this. Look at this now, watch. Did you just see my hand move? I made the hand move. Your computer controls your body and your life. What's in your program?
Okay. And so now we've gone down that rabbit hole. So going to the daddy-daughter date things in there. I've always been curious, because I know that this is a concept that I see, especially fathers that intentionally want to be active in their daughters' lives, and they want to make sure there's that standard set. What was the effect that actually had on you at the time and continuing forward as you dated people?
Let's see. When I remember, it was exciting because I got to shave for the first time and I got to get ready. So it was like this whole big getting ready. I know. Anyway, so it was exciting. I got a dress on. He went somewhere. My mom was getting me ready. And so it was just kind of exciting. But we were already close. And we already did a lot of stuff together. So it was just kind of cool to get dressed up and go out with him, and have flowers. He came and got me flowers and then took me. I got to eat what I wanted to eat. We went to Red Lobster.
Oh man, those biscuits, huh?
Those biscuits. Yeah. It was when they put a lot of garlic and butter back in the day.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was so
It was good back then. Oh man.
But kind of setting the standard, I'm sure, is what you were wanting to do.
I'd just like to repeat again, the main thing, I take no credit. The Bible and the people that were mentoring me in my life, I'm so thankful for the mentorship I got. I cringe every time I think, if I hadn't have been involved in a business with people that were so right on with their life. That's my credit, that I followed people that were already successful.
And continuing forward, as you had that as a standard, and then whether it was your first date or your 13th date, or what were some things that you took from that you were able to carry through? And were there ever any times where you allowed yourself to depart from those standards?
I didn't date a lot. I was kind of a relationship person, actually. So I really didn't date a lot, but I would hang out with people from community college and then get to know them and then like them. And then we would just exclusively hang out, and then I would be with them for a year and a half. So it wasn't ever really, I didn't have a lot of dating really at all. As you know, I mean, I met and married my husband in 2 months. So
Yeah. You guys go back and watch that episode. I'm telling you.
so it wasn't really, it was like, it was different. And I don't know if it was different back then, but like, I always just kind of fell into a relationship. That was probably, and that's a lot of stuff too. Like that's a whole nother episode of like, from, insecurities in dating and like wanting to be liked by the guy. So then I would like jump in and stay longer than I should type thing, which is a different thing than like confidence. Like it's, like I said, it's a whole nother, a whole nother podcast, but, yeah. So I would be in like like I was in like a year and a half, and then the next one was like a year and a half. And then I actually was married before. Yeah.
Oh, this is new to me.
Oh, and that actually could probably be, going back to your question, a heartbreak for you, right? One of the ones. But anyway, for 7 years. And so so there was never, I'm like I would go into a relationship and stay.
One thing I could say is that there's a saying that says a daughter and a father is a special relationship. And basically, most women or the daughters try to find someone to have a relationship like their father. So I'd like to say that. What kind of father are you to your daughter? Because she's going to look for someone like you in general.
So now that brings me to the next question here, which is now as the father, and so Renee was married once, and now Renee is married again. So what do you think were the similarities and the differences between yourself and the previous husband, and then yourself and Austin now?
That's a good question.
They were both, I liked them both. They were very good people. For whatever reason, most marriages, people think a marriage is doing good and then suddenly it's not doing good. Marriages die slowly like carbon monoxide. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, but it's slowly killing you if you're not doing the right things. What are the right things? Well, I never knew until I read books or had mentorship from people that were doing the right things. All we're taught in school is how to go to school and get a job. That's it. Nothing about a marriage, nothing about raising children, nothing about finances, nothing about anything. So you've got to seek a source that'll give you the right info and the right way of living. And that's what we were fortunate enough to be able to do.
How do you see yourself in Austin? Like, what are the similarities?
Oh, I think we're more alike than her first husband. He's like a bull in a china cabinet. He charges in and figures it out and gets it done. He's been where I've been, maybe not as bad as he's been, but I wasn't so good either. I wasn't Mr. Goody Two-Shoes in the beginning till I got mentorship from successful people, and I started changing my life. And when I found the Lord, changed my life, or programmed my computer more with His Word instead of garbage word from TV and junk over here, and it changed my life. Oh, am I lucky? No. I was just fortunate enough to see that I wanted this kind of life instead of that kind of life. So I'll ask people, what kind of life do you want? Find people that have it and then follow them.
Tell me about that moment that you could confirm that Austin was a good fit for your daughter.
The fact that it looked like God put him in position. That was the main thing. And then Renee had written down 32 things.
63. I went back and counted
Go
them.
ahead, do
No, we did it on the podcast.
Okay.
Just really quick. 63 things of what I wanted in a man. Godly characteristics and other characteristics.
I'm telling y'all, go back and watch that episode, you guys.
Key success note there. The Bible says write your vision on tablets. Well, we don't use stone tablets anymore, but we're supposed to write down our vision or what we want in life. Write it down. Didn't say I got it here. It says write it down. She wrote it down. He had every single one of them.
Yes.
That's absolute madness in there. Okay, so this is something that, and this is something that came up literally last night. And so I'm so curious to get your perspective as a father on this, because previously I think my thought on this was different, and then literally after y'all's conversation, after our episode, I thought about it and I said, "Holy smokes, that makes a lot of sense." So here's the scene. I'll paint the picture for you guys. I'm in a Facebook dating group where people will come in and they'll talk about the woes that they're going through and the trials and tribulations, dealing with, different kinds of people. There was a person who had said, "I am 35 years old. I'm trying to do the dating apps. They're not working. Everybody that I match with is someone that I'm not attracted to that much, or they're a person that we message and they just fall off. Anybody that is very attractive that I would like, it seems like they only want to have fun, or they, I'm just not their type. I can't get something to work." And so I sat there and I looked at it and I'm like, Renee was 45 when she got her husband. And the big thing that stood out to me that you said, how your friend and you were talking was, my friend said, at this age, we're at a place where people are going to have some type of baggage, whether it's something involving a past with prison, addiction, divorce, kids, emotional trauma or baggage that hasn't been worked out. And if none of that, then very likely they're just going to be some playboy who has his pick of the litter. And so you had to make the conscious choice that, you know what? I just want God to bring me someone who is at the very least fighting to be in that place with them. And very shortly there later, Austin popped up. And so the message I left as a response was to say, hey, you should realize that, I listed out some of the baggages that may be there. You may have to be okay with getting into a relationship with someone that maybe isn't your ideal version of attract. I didn't even say unattractive, somebody that you have no attract. I said not your ideal version. So maybe not the 6'3" guy with the perfect teeth and the, all of it, but just not your ideal attractive, who you can have meaningful conversations with and who you share the same values with. And the responses to that was, why would I ever settle for someone that is a broken hot tub of garbage? And I'm like, are you insane? Some of these people that have been through that life are some of the most ethical. They've worked the hardest to truly change their lives around. And I literally was thinking of Austin in that moment. I'm like, you have no right to sit on your high horse and be so judgmental. Like, you can pick one or the other, but either way, you need to fix your judgment because your personality is disgusting right now. And so, Al, what I wanted to ask you was, I understand you as a person, your personality, but I want you to detail, knowing about Austin's past and the things that he had gone through. Was there any worry from you, or was there, tell me, as you learned about him, how everything processed?
Well, first, let me ask you, the cameras are off or not?
Oh, they are on.
Okay, I just want to be sure that I didn't want you to be doing this and somehow it shut off.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
I had no worry, and here's why. Because after meeting him and knowing she'd written down all these things and he had all of them, and how they met in church, the circumstances they met, I trusted that God was in charge of it. We don't care what people's past is. I'm not proud of my past. I'm thankful I've changed and become better. And so forgetting the past, press on to a better life. And in my opinion, from all I ascertained from the relationship, trusting my daughter's judgment because I trust her with whatever she does, what is there to worry about? Why would I care what he did before? All I care about is, what is he going to do now? Where is he headed now? And he was guided by God, and God's word. My daughter approved of them, had all the details she wanted. He filled every one of them. What is there to worry about? Nothing in life is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. And I will say something I know about that man, just from what he described about work. He works 10, 12 hours a day, a lot of days. And I know you were saying that you work as a personal assistant, and so you guys both work, and you're kind of, what would you describe as part-time somewhat?
Yes. I'm just like on call. It's a blessing. That's a whole nother blessing from the Lord. So I work from home as she needs me.
So you get to have the pick of how you use your time as you want for the most part in there. And that's something that, like, Austin busts his tail working the hard labor of construction to allow and facilitate something like that for. And that's not something that a lot of guys around 35 plus are willing to do. Most have that a very strong sense of like, okay, I'm at this age now. I'm either going to work a very specific job, or if I'm going to be with somebody, she needs to be making equal so we can go 50-50 on it and all of these things. And so I wonder, as you, Renee, so you're someone that is, I mean, as a 47-year-old, you do not have 47-year-old energy. I told you when I first met you and you and Austin came in, I thought you were about 32, same age as Austin or so. And so now you've got your experience of life. You've got the wisdom that you've seen lived out through your mom and father, his mentors and everything like that. So how do you feel you interact with that next generation coming up of young women who are looking to establish their standards, boundaries, their list of things, and how do you interact with them, advise them, and guide?
I think that is actually one of the ministries that, I mean, our lives are ministries, so I say ministry loosely, but like one of the things the Lord is using me for and will continue and grow to use me even more in is that I do have the energy of a younger person but the wisdom of what I've been, my life that I've lived and the knowledge that I have. So even though I may look like that, like I carry more wisdom just from what's been put in here. But I can relate. I'm relatable to this younger generation. And so just, it's something the Lord's really been putting on my heart actually, is like just speaking more into it and like sharing more of my testimony, up until Austin, and like my struggles just in like a dating world or like, what I've learned about like needing to be whole before you, needing your junk. You know, you were talking about that on the dating site, and the lady or whoever it was saying like, I'm not taking a busted. Well, have you worked on yourself, and are you completely whole and healthy and like done your work with the Lord? Like we all have to be there. So I really feel like, helping these girls realize like we all need to get to a place of healing and wholeness, and like instilling wisdom of like, hey, my dad always has a story of like walking in the minefield that you follow the person who's already gone through, you follow their footsteps in the minefield because they've made it. If their footsteps are all the way to there, then they haven't gotten blown up from here to there. So follow behind someone who's already done it so you can learn from their mistakes and not have to make them. So I want to be that for these girls and like tell them like, look, I did this, don't do this. Like this is what you need to do. This is how you need to approach it. Like I really feel called to that. So
yeah, I love it. And I would love to see I love it when women are able to get on and talk to other women. Like people ask me all the time, why is this a men's podcast? Here, honestly, who would come sit and listen to a guy talk about what women can do better, what women should do better? There is such a major culture of, oh, you're mansplaining now. Oh, you're misogynistic in some sense because, you think women and men have roles. So there's too much of that to sift through it all. Meanwhile, there's a whole population of men out there who are looking for someone to look up to. We see that with men who look at Trump to be strong models. We see that with men who look at figures like Andrew Tate to be role models. They see people who have things that they want, and they're following those people because as far as they see, these people have walked through the minefield, not blown up, so they're willing to follow in that. And so I think I would love if you were to start something up, and I would be highly supportive of that. So,
Amen.
I'd just like to say, I might have said it before, but to repeat, 80% of the men in prison never had a father or a father figure. So mentorship in the women's side and the men's side is so powerful and so important that it's the best way to change your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. So we have, how long will we be going for now? Can't even tell. I need to get a stop clock, I swear. But I want to hear from each of you guys, a moment for each of you that you had the absolute most trust in each other.
Moment? Well, for you, jumping off the carport.
That's my most trust in you.
No, that's...
I trusted you to raise me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but what if I didn't catch you?
No, I mean, that's one that I remember is the story that he tells when I jumped off the carport. I mean, I don't love heights. I don't like being up. I don't mind being high. I don't like being up in an open space where I can fall off. That. And so he had put me up on the carport, which is fine. I think going up is fine. But then once you're up there, you're like, ew, now I'm like up here. I want to get down. But then that's the scary part. So when he tells a story about how I remember him being like, jump down to me. And he had his arms up. And I'm like, because you look down and all you see is like drop and like you're this big. I was probably 6 or I don't know how old I was.
7 or 8.
Yeah. And it was not fun. I did not want to jump. But he said, come down. I'll catch you. I promise. I would rather crush both of my arms catching you than let you drop. And so just that like, okay, like a leap of faith, like I'm getting ready to drop really down far. I can get hurt, but trusting that he would catch me. I mean, I do remember that moment because I remember being scared up there.
Yeah, I could see the fear in her eyes.
It was real.
Yeah, but I tell people all the time, it gave me a little speck of taste of what it must feel like to God when we do what he says and obey him and how we must feel. Because if I felt the way I did from that, it's got to be incredible when you obey what God says for your life.
And trust him.
And trust him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So where you guys are right now, what do you see as maybe the next phase of your relationship together? What does that go forward and look like?
Well, I've always promoted and I've always programmed the computer in our family that we're together and we take care of each other and we stick together. I've done that all the way through their lives, and nothing's changed. That's how we live. We're always counting on each other. We know in the whole world and people, as far as people, that we can count on each other no matter what.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just a close family. My brother lives near us, him and his wife, Austin and I, my dad and his wife, Connie, who we love. So it's kind of like we always make sure we see each other every week or two. We talk all the time. We just like, not that any,
Awesome.
I mean, we just live our life. So it's just continuing. What I want to do, what I would like to do, because like I said, we have our whole life is like, God is real because he provides. Our faith is so huge that you can't tell. Like, there's no situation, honestly, that we would be like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? I mean, our flesh minds might at first be like, because of a situation, but there's nothing that we would be worried about. So what I would like to do, he has a little black book of miracles, like from all our lives. Like they're numbered like 1, the this, 2, the this. So
Oh,
I would like,
wow.
it's incredible. Like some of the miracles and different things, how God has come through, how like they've been praying for a bill and like someone knocked on the door and gave a check for it. Like just so many like
Wow.
accidents that have happened, things that have come through. So he has this black book that's thick, full of numbered different things. So I would like to sit down at some point and like record his stories of each one. Okay, number 1, what's this? And then put them all together into like a book or a live testimonial or
Yeah.
something like that. Because they're like it's incredible.
That sounds phenomenal. Oh,
It's
man.
incredible.
And I think that would be awesome to have a whole just
Of one family's
Yeah.
like God, how God's hand has been on one family. Like one of those would like blow your mind. Like, I mean, it's insane how cool God is.
I can tell you one good one. I was married 45 years, and my wife passed 4 years ago, and I've remarried since. I've been married over 3 years now. For a year, I was just on my own. I've found beautiful women in both times. I can tell you one story about my wife that passed, Marie. She had, after, was it with Anthony or with you when her back was bad? I can't remember whether it was Renee or Anthony, but when they were young, she had her back so bad that she couldn't get out of bed without rolling out of bed,
Anthony.
and slowly crawling up to stand up one night, she laid in bed all night long praying that God would heal her. When she woke up, she didn't really sleep. When I say when she woke up, when she got ready to get up, she said to herself, well, I either trust God or not. I'm going to get up like nothing happened. She just got up out of bed. It didn't hurt. Her back was okay, and then nothing ever happened to her back again since then. That was a true, absolute miracle because she was in pure, horrible agony with her back.
wow.
I never forgot that.
awesome.
It takes real faith. Faith is you trust God's word or you don't. But if you don't trust God's word, what do you trust? A wall? Somebody that found a secret writing in the mountains 20 years ago? What do you trust? You trust in a cup of water? You got to find something that's irrefutably going to... God's word.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful illustration there. So this is something that I do wonder, because I think it's something that I've thought about, and it is different because I know that there were so many years that were allowed to be had, but that experience of when your wife, your mother did pass, what was that time like for your family, and how did you all navigate through that?
I don't know if I'm going to just share really quick. I don't know if he's going to even tell the previous miracle story of that, but it was really cool. I mean, the whole thing is like a God miracle. It'll be in the book. But she had a heart thing that we realized, that she was born with something, but not until the last 7 years of her life. So they had moved a mile from us, which is a whole nother God thing. So I got to see her every day. Instead of all the way out in Eustis, an hour, our times would have never seen. So I got to God allowed us to be able to spend the last 7 years of our lives, all of us together, all of the time, because he brought them out to us. But on the night before she passed away, because we're all busy, so we'd all pop in at mom's house, mom and dad's house. My brother would, I would, my dad would spend whatever. We'd all pop in and out randomly. But the night before she passed away, I was like, I'm going to go to mom's. So I went over there, and then my brother and his wife were like, we're going to go to mom's. And they showed up. And then my brother's old, elementary school friend that was my mom's second son, he showed up. And then my dad was there, and we all were together, and we all watched Shark Tank, and we all got pizza and got to be together. And then the next morning she went to heaven. And so that's like a God gift, because my whole family got to be together with my mom on the night before he was going to take her to heaven. And like I still remember, like I washed the makeup off her face. My sister-in-law like helped us put away clothes. We're like, okay, Mom, now what do you want to do? And then we sat her. I gave her a massage, and then before I left, I said, Dad, give her another massage. But we all watched Shark Tank together, and just God brought us there specifically. So then the next morning when she did pass away, it was that, like in the Bible, it says he'll give you peace that passes all understanding. It was literally tangible peace that passed all understanding, because she passed away at the house. My dad walked in and she was like she had passed away on the couch. But before she passed away, when he went into his office to go do some work, she gave him the biggest smile ever. And he's like, Mom's doing great. So he got that smile. That was the last smile you got. So, and just, he had a peace. He called, they called us. We came, we just were like, okay, Mom's in heaven. And we went to the beach and we wrote Mom in the sand, and we watched the sunset the day that she passed away, my brother and my dad and I. And it was just a peace. And then we just had peace that God gave us always. I mean, yes, sadness comes, you're sad, but we weren't devastated. It was peace, because he gave us peace that passes all understanding. So we just were thankful that she is not having to go through COVID. We were thankful that she didn't have to deal with all the stuff that was going on. She was in heaven. It was just like a relief, actually. I'm like, Mom's in heaven. A peace. I don't even know how else to explain it except just peace that he gives. Because it's supernatural.
Wow. I mean, talk about the best way that you could go. The best day before. I'm sorry. I mean, that is the best, like, day before and then day of way to go out from it. Like, I'm hijacking this. His story of right before is an excellent story of how God did for them. I don't know if. Yeah.
No, you tell it. You know it really quick.
Going to the Dominican Republic. Well, we never give up on anything. So my wife, pretty much, the medical people had figured she's going to die and be gone. Well, we don't accept that until she is gone. She was still here, so we're looking for solutions. And in our research, it looks like stem cells were the way to go. And so we did our research, and there was a doctor in South Florida that we found that appeared to be really caring about people. He had worked on 1,200 patients with 99% success rate. He lost his medical license because he was helping people with that, and it wasn't the approved thing to do. But we didn't care whether it was approved. 99% success was good enough for us. So we went and met with him, and he usually took 5 people to the Dominican Republic to do the stem cell procedure on the heart. He was a cardiologist. And so it was $65,000. But one of my businesses hadn't done so good, so I didn't have $65,000, and I couldn't get $65,000 quickly. And he looked at her charts and all and said, she looks like she needs to do something. He had scheduled for 5 people. That's what he always took to Dominican Republic, 5 people to do their stem cell implementation. It wasn't going to be a month and a half after we met with him that he was planning to go. The next few days after we met with him, he called up and says, there's been a change. We're going to have to get down there. So if you want to go, we can go next week. And I said, well, let me see what I can do to round up some money. We didn't come close. I think 10 grand was about the most we could raise up in a week. He said, well, we have someone that may be able to help. Let me send you this form to fill out. Normally it's about a book's thick. You put your firstborn, your secondborn, and everything you've ever done, put it up as collateral. It was a 1-page thing with our name, address, how much we had, how much we made, and blah, blah, blah. I thought, well, this is a joke.
And I remember my mom called me after filling that out the day she filled it out. And she's like, we're filling out this form. It's for financial aid. So just be praying that we can get some.
So we filled it out, and I'm sending it in thinking, well, it doesn't look like this is going to go anywhere. The next day he called and says, you've been approved. We'll cover the airfare. We'll cover the procedure. We'll cover the food. We'll cover the hotel. $65,000 popped up just like that. Just like that. Talk about a miracle. Wow. And we left. And we went down there. And we were supposed to take a day off. We were in a 5-star hotel with a card to get to the top floor. We're on the top floor, overlooking the bay, looking at the ocean, with food and drink all day long. All day long. Whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to drink, sitting there looking the world at your feet. And when we met with the doctor the next day, we looked around, but before that, the day before, we'd see some of these people that looked like they were elderly and would say, I wonder if they're going to be one of the 5. I wonder if they're going to be one of the 5. And when we met with the doctor the next day, we were the only ones there and said, where are the other people? He says, you're the only ones I'm going to be helping this time. And so he made a special deal. He found the funding for us. We lived like a king and queen for a week before she passed. And he did it just for us. And the only reason it didn't work is she was so far gone. It takes 90 days for stem cells to do their job. And after a month and a half, she passed.
But it's so cool. Like God lined up
Such
a
a miracle.
vacation, a final vacation for them to have. She had been wanting to go, and they went, like, she had been wanting to go there, just a vacation. She's, had this heart thing forever. Like, so it was God going, here, I'm going to give you guys a vacation now. Yes, he knew the end. He knew he was going to bring us together the night before, all of that, because he has it all planned. But like that's our family's like history with the Lord is just, $65,000.
That's
boom.
Unimaginable. Just
We're thinking a couple thousand. Like, I don't even know what we were thinking, but like, I remember she called and she's like, we got it. We're going. I'm like, what? So
amazing.
So just, you can't not have peace when you know, like, well, God, this is obviously God. He let that happen. He brought us together. He took her home. It's his plan. Like, so.
Wow.
And we just stay like this.
Thank you all for sharing that. That is an amazing God story right there.
Yep. It'll be in the book too.
That's awesome. Man. And I think that right there is a fantastic note to bring us to our closing segments here. So what are 3 things from this sit-down conversation, whether it's strictly on the topic of father-daughter dynamics or relationships or trusting in God, that y'all would like to depart onto the audience?
Well, I will say this, that a lot of people say there's many ways to the top of the mountain when you mention about trusting God or having God or Jesus Christ as your mentor and Savior. A lot of people say there's many ways to the top of the mountain. Well, I don't know if there are or not. Just like a lot of people say there's UFOs, some people say there's not. I don't know if there's UFOs. If one landed outside in the parking lot, I'd say, well, I guess there's UFOs. But I don't know or don't know. Well, I think the same way going to the top of the mountain. If there's 6 paths going to the top of a mountain and you're there and you have one chance to get to the top and live forever, one says this is a good way, another one says this is a nice scenic way, another one says this is the fastest way, and one sign says this is the only way. Why on planet Earth would a human being with an intelligent computer mind not pick the one that says it's the only way. Because what if you're wrong and I get to the top and you're laughing at me? Who cares? We all made it. But what if you're wrong and you took the path that said this is the best way, but it wasn't? I say pick the way that says this is the only way, and that's Jesus Christ, to run your life and guide and direct your life. I have one more thing. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they say they have a formula for the great writings of all time. One of them is Homer's Iliad. The formula is how old is the writing, how many supporting documents and manuscripts. There's about 900 supporting documents and manuscripts for Homer's Iliad. It's been around hundreds of years. Harvard, Yale, Princeton say that's a great writing. Yet you talk to people about the Bible and they say, oh yeah, that's a fairy tale. There's a bunch of this, that, and the other. Well, let me tell you this. The Bible has over 35,000 supporting documents and manuscripts. It's been around for over 3,000 years. How could that be a fairy tale and Homer's Iliad is a great writing? Does that make sense to anybody? I'm a high school dropout. Maybe my brain didn't mature enough to figure something out. You did.
Love it, Al. Love it.
That's my dad. Sometimes I have to remind him to smile. He gets serious because he's passionate.
Right.
So I'm the smiley reminder.
Awesome. And then I guess, Renee, did you want to close us out with our last third one?
I would just say, let me think. What really did help us was just being involved in your children's lives. That's what I like. My parents being involved impacted us a lot. Whether we hated it, hated it as kids, like, why do you gotta tell us to be home at that time? Or why do you have to tell us what movie to see? Be involved in your children's lives. And it doesn't matter that it's invasive, or it doesn't matter like, oh, we let them choose. No, you're the parents for a reason. I mean, God gave you those children to mentor and to raise and train up, not just feed and clothe and send off. Like your job is to train them. And that's what my parents did. They took it serious. They took the task that they were given and they trained us. They didn't just feed us. They didn't just give us a house. They took their role and they actively trained us. So I just think just be involved in your children's lives.
You said 3 things. I only gave 2. I have one more.
Bonus.
Let's do it.
Some people may say you're never going to amount to anything. They're lying to you. You are destined for greatness. You can accomplish anything you want to accomplish, but your computer has to have the right program. If you put garbage in there, it's like putting a virus in a laptop computer. It'll still run, but it won't do what it's supposed to do. Your life is the same way. You are destined for greatness. You are incredibly made, and you just have to know that anything against that is a lie from hell.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
That meant it was good.
Yeah. So the next piece is, what are, if any, 3 questions that you guys have? You may ask it and I will answer honestly.
We can share the questions.
You first.
Me. Let me
That
see.
gives me time to think.
How were your parents involved in your life growing up?
That one makes me have
Hi,
to
Mom.
think a bit there. I would say my parents were involved in, it depends on the time frame, because there was a lot of back and forth with the different families there. So when it came to my dad, he worked a lot. And so he was very much so that, you guys need to help out around. There's so many of you guys, like everybody contribute as much as you can. And I will say, like, some of the best grades and some of the best physical shape that I ever was in was when I was with my dad. So he was definitely like on top of everybody handling their stuff and that. When it comes to my mom, I would say she was involved in that. She supported me relentlessly in whatever. Very business minded. She had a habit of encouraging me to figure out innovative ways to, if she's not going to give it to me, figure out a way to get it in some other way. That inspired a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in me. And that's something that I've kept myself to this day, clearly. So yeah, I think that would be how.
That's awesome.
I would say, where do you see your life going? What is your vision for your life? The big vision, ultimate plan for your accomplishment in life.
I would say the big vision would be to have this right here making all the money that I need to facilitate the lifestyle that we want to live, the ability to maybe travel once or twice here and there, the wife staying at home or just working from home. That would be a great thing there. And then just being involved actively in like a solid church community as well as a good business entrepreneurship community. Maybe about 10 kids that I have.
Put them all to work.
You know, absolutely. Teach them different aspects and then just have them kind of run the local city that we are a part of. I would love that. That or take my entire family to Africa and live in the jungles of Africa. If, you know, God willing, that there is a method of that. And yeah, I think that. And of course, having a number of, you know, interns of students that can come in, work for 3 to 6 months at a time that I can teach in the ways of all of this as I continue to grow, giving that knowledge to them as well.
Awesome. Oh, I get a third one?
Didn't you say 3 things?
Yes, sir.
I thought you were going to take 2. Let's see. This is just a fun one to end with.
Okay.
What is one of your favorite childhood memories?
Good one.
Favorite childhood, man, there's so many. I think one of the ones that really stands out, I was in middle school and I lived in Vegas. And as y'all know, Vegas is notorious as like basically a desert area. And it was literally the wondrous year. It was the last year that I lived in Vegas. And not only did it snow there, it snowed heavily.
Wow.
I remember getting out of school, snow everywhere. You could literally grab a trash can lid. There was a tall hill, and you could just ride that hill down, just like in all the doggone cartoon shows and the movies. And I'm just like, holy smokes, how did this happen? This is magic right here. Like,
Wow.
what? I think it snows in Vegas. Someone told me it snows in Vegas like every 7 years. And that happened to be the 7th year of it.
Wow.
And that's probably one of the most wondrous moments of my childhood that I have. There are moments that involve siblings and parents and all that jazz. But as far as a moment that just left me in awe and shock, that's one that definitely stands out, man.
That's awesome.
So I'm like,
Fun.
what? Awesome. And then, of course, to close it out, you guys, what is something that me and the audience can come around you two as a father-daughter unit and pray for y'all going forward?
Well, far as me, there's nothing you can pray for because we're so blessed. I would say pray for others that aren't as blessed as we are. We're so thankful for our lives that I even have a song on my phone that I play a lot. And it just says, thank you, Lord, for the morning. Thank you for the afternoon. Thank you for the evening. Thank you for the sunshine. And I play it because I'm just so thankful. So I don't know what I would ask for because I'm so thankful. It'd be like being greedy on my part.
Pray that he just guides our steps. Like just constantly that we hear him guiding our steps with everything. Cause that's what we want. Like whether to talk to this person when we're here, whether to turn right to go to the store today. I mean, it's like literally that he just guides our steps and keeps our family tight.
Awesome. Absolutely. So at this time, audience, if you could, please join me in prayer for Renee and Al. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this show that we've been able to have together, to be able to come together after all these months, to be able to have these different ways of having conversations between Al and I personally, meeting each other at a networking event, and just the ways that it's branched off to now being a whole family affair. We're just thankful for you, God, for allowing us to have conversations that are a blessing onto others, that are a blessing onto you. And we just want to give you all the glory and all the praise and recognize that you were with us here in this room today. And we pray that your spirit was felt with all of those who would come back and watch this as well, that you would be inspiring them to be able to walk in faith closer with you, Lord. And dear God, we want to pray for Renee and Al as they continue on, that they would just continue to seek your path and seek your way, that you would guide their footsteps, that they would move according to your will, not even as much according to their own, but just following you, hearing your whisper and running after it, Lord. We pray that you would allow them to see the places that you want them to be, and that you would call them to certain conversations, call them to certain people, certain relationships, events, whatever it would be, God, and that you would just open up any door and post a sign for them to walk through gladly with you. We also want to pray, Lord, for the people who may not know you, who may not believe in you, who may not understand the ways in which you work, Lord. We know that you bless those of us that follow you and that you are here for us. And we just pray that those that do not know you are able to just have a revelation of heart and a revelation of spirit, that they would be able to have an encounter with your son, Jesus, that would just change their minds and change their hearts radically, Lord. Allow them to see your light and to walk towards it and to just move closer to your spirit, Lord. We want to see as many people enter the kingdom as possible. We thank you, God, and we pray blessings over every audience member that has watched live or that comes back and watches it on the back end. We pray that they may have a great rest of the week, that they can be blessed in your spirit, and that they can seek you first and foremost, just as much as we will seek you, God. We thank you, Lord, for everyone, and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome, you guys. Everyone here, I want to thank y'all for watching. This has been the episode that we've been coming to, preparing for here. And so make sure to go back and watch the interview with Al that we had a few months ago, the one that we had with Renee and Austin, and now this one that we have with Renee and her father Al together.
And watch my husband's testimony because it's amazing.
100%. You guys, if there is a testimony to watch, Austin's is absolutely, I still think about it to this day. All of those will be linked in the description so that you can go back and just watch all four together. Thank you guys, and I pray that your day is blessed, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next episode of the Inspired Challenge podcast. Take care. And YouTube is a close.
Did you lose your phone?
Yep, it died.
Yeah. Didn't that almost happen last time?
Yeah.